Lieutenant Colonel Naomi Carter stood victorious over Officer Ethan Cole's wrecked patrol car, the Nevada sun blazing down as her phone buzzed with a Pentagon call that flipped the script. She smirked, thinking she had crushed his racist power play. But before she could fully grasp the weight of her small victory, another cruiser screamed into view, tires smoking. Cole's partner stormed out, gun raised, spitting vile slurs. A routine traffic stop had morphed into a battlefield, and Naomi's sense of triumph evaporated in an instant. This clash wasn't just a moment of injustice. It would scar her career, her family, her life. And as the desert heat bore down, she had only seconds to decide what came next. The Nevada sun beat down mercilessly on Highway 95, a lonely ribbon of asphalt slicing through the desert, 50 miles outside of Las Vegas. Heat shimmered on the cracked earth, rising like ghosts. Lieutenant Colonel Naomi Carter, a 40-year-old black woman with a spine of steel and eyes that had seen too much, gripped the wheel of her silver SUV. The air conditioning hummed softly, trying and failing to cut through the oppressive 110-degree afternoon. She was on her way back from a military conference in Reno, her crisp olive-green uniform still perfectly pressed despite the long drive. A faint sheen of sweat on her brow was the only sign of the day's toll. Her mind drifted to the keynote she had delivered, strategic logistics for rapid troop deployment, when a flicker in her rearview mirror snapped her back to reality. A patrol car, white with a gold stripe, lurking a quarter-mile behind. Its headlights were off, but its presence was undeniable. She checked her speedometer, 67 miles per hour in a 60 zone. Close enough to legal, she thought. But her gut tightened. She had been here before. The cruiser closed in fast. Red and blue lights flared to life, slicing through the dusty haze. Naomi sighed, flicked on her blinker, and eased onto the gravel shoulder. Tires crunched against uneven ground. She adjusted her posture, shoulders squared, hands at 10 and 2. Instinct. Years of navigating a world that often saw her skin before her rank. The patrol car pulled up tight behind her, its engine growling. Outstepped Officer Ethan Cole, a wiry man in his late 30s. His skin was lobster red from too many hours under this unforgiving sun. His uniform was wrinkled, his badge glinting like a taunt. His thin lips curled into something between a smirk and a scowl as he adjusted his belt, heavy with a holstered pistol and a jangling set of cuffs. He had the gait of a man who owned this stretch of road. The way he squinted at her California plates said he had already made up his mind about her. Cole ambled up to her window, boots kicking up puffs of dust, and tapped the glass with a sharp, impatient knuckle. Naomi lowered it with a soft whir, keeping her expression neutral, her voice steady. "Good afternoon, officer. How can I assist you?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned in close enough for her to smell the stale coffee on his breath. His pale blue eyes raked over her like she was roadkill. License and registration. His tone was clipped, a razor's edge beneath the words. She nodded, reaching slowly for the glove box, every move deliberate, telegraphed, so he couldn't claim she was reaching for something else. Her fingers brushed the leather wallet holding her military ID, but she opted for her civilian driver's license instead, pairing it with the SUV's papers. Palms up. Non treatening. Here you go. He snatched the documents, flipping through them with a flick of his wrist. His sneer deepened as he read her name. Naomi Carter. Los Angeles address. California, huh? You people always think you own the damn road out here. The you people landed like a slap, heavy with venom. Naomi's jaw tightened, but she kept her cool. She was a lieutenant colonel, not a rookie. She had faced worse than this punk with a badge. "Officer, may I ask why you pulled me over?" Her voice was calm, measured, a thread of authority woven through it. Cole huffed, ignoring her question at first. His flashlight swung up from his belt, jabbing a beam straight into her eyes. She squinted against the glare, hands still on the wheel, refusing to flinch. Speeding, he finally grunted, though his tone was too smug, too rehearsed. "Clocked you at 10 over. Were you headed in such a hurry?" Naomi knew he was lying. She hadn't been going 70, but she didn't call it out. Not yet. I'm returning home from a conference in Reno, she replied, clipped but polite. I didn't realize I was over the limit. Must have missed a sign. His gaze narrowed, picking apart her composed demeanor like it was a personal insult. He leaned closer, the flashlight lingering on her face, then sweeping into the back seat, probing the shadows. Fancy ride for a desert run, he muttered, voice dripping with suspicion. You got anything in here I should know about? Drugs? Weapons? Cash? Naomi's pulse quickened, but her face stayed a mask. She knew the script, had seen it play out in too many towns, too many stops. No, officer, she said firmly. Just my belongings and some paperwork from work. His eyes flicked to her uniform. The silver oak leaves on her collar caught the light. For a split second, he hesitated. Then the sneer returned, sharper. Work, huh? What's a gal like you doing dressed up like that? Halloween come early? The mockery was blatant now, laced with a racism so casual it was almost lazy. Naomi felt the heat rise in her chest. I'm a physician and a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, she said, her words crisp, attached to a medical unit out of Fort Irwin. She expected, hoped, it would shift the dynamic, make him rethink his game. But Cole just laughed, a harsh, barking sound that echoed off the SUV's metal frame. Sure you are, sweetheart. And I'm General Patton. He stepped back, twirling her license between his fingers like a poker chip, his amusement morphing into something darker. You stay put. We're going to have a little chat about where you really got this car. He strutted back to his cruiser, leaving Naomi simmering in the driver's seat, the desert heat creeping in through the open window. She watched him in the side mirror, his silhouette hunched over his radio, probably running her plates, looking for any excuse to escalate. Her mind raced. This wasn't just a traffic stop anymore. It was personal, a power trip fueled by the color of her skin and the audacity of her poise. And it was only the beginning.